Nick Joaquin was a Filipino writer, historian, and journalist, best known for his short story and novels in English language. He also wrote using the pen name Keanu de Manila. Joaquin was conferred the rank and title of National Artist of the Philippines for Literature. He has been considered one of the most important Filipino writers, along with Jose Rizal and Claro M. Recto. Now we know the basic introduction about Nick Joaquin. We may now proceed to his early life. Nicomedes Joaquin E. Marquez was born on May 4, 1917 in Paco, Manila. His family and his close friend called him Onching or his palayo Onching.
However, there are other accounts on the date of his birth.
Joaquin was the fifth of the 10 children of Don Leocadio Joaquin and Salome Marquez.
The Joaquin family lived on Heron Street, which is now Pedro Hill Street in Paco, Manila. Joaquin was said to have an extremely happy childhood. The Joaquin children were tortured in Spanish and piano. The children were encouraged to have an interest in the arts. The Joaquin home communicated in Spanish and heard Mass regularly. Nick is a notably devout Christian and continued being so his whole life. The Joaquin had lived a wonderful life until Don Leocadio lost the family fortune in a failed investment on an oil exploration project in the late 1920s. Due to that, they moved out to Heron Street and rented a house on Pasay. Don Leocadio passed away not so long after. Nick Joaquin was only 12 years old and this changed in their family. Now we know the early life of Nick Joaquin, we may now proceed to his education.
Nick Joaquin goes to Paco Elementary School and went to Mapa High School. In his third year, he informed his mother that he wanted to drop out from school. Yet, his mother, who was former teacher, still allows him to do so.
After leaving school, he worked as an apprentice in a bakery and later on in a publishing company. This allowed him a small taste of an industry he would spend his life in. An avid reader, Joaquin used his time to pursue his passion for it. Based on his sister, he was described rabid and insane love for books. His parents had encouraged him for books early on. He already had a borrower's card at the National Library at the age of 10. He pervaded his father's personal library and loved the bookstores in downtown Manila. He reads voraciously and intently. He reads everything that caught his eye. He enjoyed reading the poetry of Edna St. Vincent Millay and Vachel Lindsay, to the stories of Anton Chekhov, to the novels of Dostoevsky and other more novelists. Nick also read American magazines and discovered the fiction of Booth Tarkington and different writers. Now we may now proceed to his life as a writer. Very early on, Joaquin already exploring his literary voice. At the age of 17, he published his first poem in English about Don Quixote in the literary section of the pre-World War Tribune. After that, Joaquin felt a strong connection in the story of Don Quixote. Later in life, he uses a similar iteration of Quixote in various pen names. In 1937, Nick Joaquin published his first story in the Sunday Tribune magazine entitled The Sorrows of Vaudeville. Joaquin won a nationwide essay competition to honor La Naval de Manila, sponsored by the Dominican Order. The University of Santo Tomas awarded him an honorary associate in arts and a scholarship St. Albert's Convent in Hong Kong. He only stayed in Hong Kong for 2 years before returning to Manila. After returning to Philippines, he continued publishing stories and poems between 1934 and 1941. The Commonwealth years was a particularly vibrant era in the Philippine literature. After his return, Joaquin joined the Philippine Free Press, starting as a proofreader. Soon after, his poems, stories, and plays were taken notice, as well as his journalism under the pen name Quijano de Manila. His journalism was both intellectual and provocative. Joaquin deeply admired Jose Rizal. By that, he tributed him in such books as The Storyteller's New Medium, Rizal in Saga, The Complete Poems and Plays of Jose Rizal, and A Question of Heroes, Essay in Criticism, on 10 key figures of the Philippine history. He translated the hero's valedictory poem in the original Spanish, Mi Ultimo Adios, that is translated into Land That I Love, Farewell. Joaquin represented the Philippines at the International PEN Congress in Tokyo in 1957 and was appointed as a member of the Motion Pictures Commission under Presidents Gustavo Macapagal and Ferdinand Marcos. After being honored as a national artist, Joaquin used this position to work for intellectual freedom in society. He secured the release of the imprisoned writer Jose F. Lacaba. At the ceremony on Mount Makiling attended by Imelda Marcos, Joaquin delivered an invocation to Maria Makiling, a Diwata and the mountain's mythical maiden. Joaquin touched on the importance of freedom and the artist. After that, Joaquin was excluded by the Marcos regime as a speaker at important cultural events. He was then the editor of the Philippine graphic magazine. Joaquin was also publisher of its sister publication, Mirror Weekly, a women's magazine, and wrote the column Small Beer for the Philippine Daily Inquirer and issue an opinion tabloid. And now, we may now proceed to the death of Nick Joaquin. Nick Joaquin died in April 29, 2004 at his home in San Juan, Metro Manila due to cardiac arrest. And now, we will now proceed to his sample works. One of his famous works were The Woman Who Had Two Navels. This story tells about a Filipino elite woman who is hallucinating and is preoccupied with the notion that has two navels or belly buttons in order to be treated as an extraordinary person. And the other book, which is entitled A Question of Heroes. This critical essay on 10 key figures in the Philippine history, Nick provides a fresh point of view of Philippine heroes and their role in the Philippine revolutionary tradition. And that's all for Nick Joaquin. We may now proceed to Horacio de la Costa.